Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. Marcus Rashford to Aston Villa, there we go. Well look, you know what, it's probably a video I never expected to do, but then again in the context of the last few weeks, you would be surprised if he was still a Man United player after the transfer deadline closes. And I suppose, look, what's going on? Well, look, this is not a surprise. First of all, I think that I will be watching Aston Villa games over on That's Football. I'll be doing a lot of Aston Villa watch-alongs because I want to see if this player that I believed in can get back to being the player I believe he can be. There is no doubt that whatever has been going on at Manchester United, it's been toxic for United, Amorim, Rashford. But let's not forget, we were talking about Rashford last season. In the entirety of last season, he wasn't playing well under Ten Hag either. So let's not pretend it's a new thing, because I think that's the sort of thing the PR and the Player FC nonsense can actually drive. This has been going on for 18 months. We've been waiting for Rashford to come back, and for whatever reason, he hasn't been able to, and there has to be a reason for that. So I'm hoping that new challenge, new setup can do that. I'm certainly not going to be one of those people that is hoping that he fails, and we had that with Sancho last year. It's beneficial for him, it's beneficial for everybody if he gets back playing well. The fact that Villa have took this on and that they're paying significant wages, I think it goes in our favour. I think some people have been surprised that Villa are going to pay so much of the wages, meant to be over half. I'd have been happy with half, but he is going to go and play in the Premier League, so I think there has to be they've got to pay for that. I think they potentially get a good deal. I think loan deals in January are always going to be a risk because it's a player leaving somewhere to go somewhere else, and there's going to be a reason for that. And you hope that that new surrounding and that, you know, point to prove will kick in, and then everybody benefits. If Marcus Rashford has got a buyback clause with Aston Villa or a buy obligation or whatever it is, I don't think it's going to be definite. I think Rashford's probably said, look, if it goes well, I might sign for Villa, but I want to be able to sign somewhere else or maybe go back to Manchester United. And that's in everybody's interests, of course. But for that to happen, he's got to play well. If he goes to Villa and does some of the things that have been happening at United, like, you know, not tracking back, not running, not training, etc., you know, goes out on the piss in Belfast, whatever, then this opportunity ends and he's back at Man United in a bad situation. So I just hope that Rashford's new challenge is seen as a point to prove. And if he goes and scores goals everywhere else, if he goes and scores a lot of goals at Aston Villa, then I think you will get the old Player FC crew going, oh, we never should have let him go. Look, that is absolute stupidity. If Rashford goes off and starts doing well, I'll be over the moon. I think everybody will be over the moon because it means that it's worked out for everybody. But to say we should have kept him, I don't want to hear those words ever. There is nothing more Amorim could have done. I don't think there's anything more Ten Hag could have done. And so there's absolutely, if he scores a hat-trick in his debut for Villa, there is no way anybody should be saying we should have kept him, because we shouldn't have kept him. Like, the end of the road had been hit. Amorim last week is saying that he's not even working hard in training still. So he's got to go. And the best outcome, I think, is that he goes, he does really well, and somebody coughs up 40 million in the summer and we part ways, and that's the way. Some have said, do you think there's a way back? We'll never say never, but I would say that it's quite rare when a player has completely and utterly burnt his bridges with the manager to be coming back just because he's done well at Aston Villa. I think both parties would be worried that you would revisit those problems. So unless Amorim got sacked and then Rashford did really well and then the new manager was like, I want Rashford, I can't see that. I think this is a pathway to a permanent exit in the summer, which I think was always going to be on the cards anyway. I think what this has done has prevented the nightmare scenario for everybody, Rashford, Amorim, the club and the fans, I suppose, that Rashford's still here on Tuesday and it's like, now what do we do? So I think this is a good move. As I said before, I don't know whether a Premier League move was something that I really thought of at the start of January, but at the end of January, I'm sort of like, well, it doesn't not benefit us, because if he does reasonably well, there is no league better than the Premier League. Whereas if he does reasonably well in Turkey or Italy, you'd go, yeah, but those leagues aren't as strong. So I think the fact that he's doing it in the Premier League is good. Do I think he'll do well at Villa? Well, this is the question I want you to answer in the chat. Do you think he's going to do well at Aston Villa? I think it just comes down to where Marcus Rashford is in his head, and whether he's learned from the last couple of years, and who is surrounding him. Because I fear that he's just got people around him who say, oh, they're just haters. You know, all these people having a pop at you, they're just haters. And I don't know whether he's actually took the time as an individual to, you know, not be influenced by these people around him and actually think for himself. Because I think even if you watched the United stand or he read some of the criticism in the press or ex-players or anything like that, the message I've always put out there is that Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial were my two favourite players about 6 years ago. And I thought they were going to be, for the next decade, players that were going to take us to the next level. Neither of them did. Martial, it's been well documented why. I think injuries was a big problem. With Marcus Rashford, I just don't really get it. I still don't understand it now. I at times thought he had the potential to go and win a Ballon d'Or, which sounds stupid. But I think genuinely a very, very talented player. Not as good as I think people or I thought he was going to be, but nowhere near as bad as he has been. He's better than that. And why it's fallen off, I don't know. So if Marcus Rashford can just do what I think he can do, I think for a team like Aston Villa, he'd be very effective. Like, very effective. If you can get him into the right positions, he's got a good finish. Even in the last year, where he's not been that good, I can think of like Man City goal, Tottenham goal. Even this season, he's scored a couple of goals. If you get him in the right positions, he'll score a goal. You've got to move the ball quickly. You've got to give him space. If you want a slow build up, if you want him to be creative, you want him to hold up the play, you're going to struggle. But if you can move the ball quickly and get the ball into him, in and around the penalty box quickly, he is a goal scorer and he can score goals. Can he be a team player? He's going to have to be that under Emery. I'm going to watch him play for Villa because I'm just intrigued to see if that journey back is there, because I believe I've never liked the whole Rashford stuff. I think there is a good player there. I think the big issue is whatever's going on in his world away from the pitch has sunk him. And it's like I said, it's a marriage that looked like it was a marriage made in heaven that has gone toxic. And thankfully, the most important people, Rashford, Amorim, have gone and been honest and gone, we need to part ways. And that to me is the obvious thing. And hopefully Man United are going to build something, because it's Manchester United. We're not Player FC. And hopefully Rashford is going to go to Villa and build something, whether it's at Villa or somewhere else. I'm actually quite comfortable with this move. And I hope it's going to work out for everybody, because there is still a player there that could bring in £40 million in the summer, and that's pure profit, as everyone talks about. There is still a career for Marcus Rashford to go and have, and I think if he'd gone to Milan or he'd gone to Galatasaray or even Barcelona and been even if he'd done well or been a bit part player, it's not the same as doing it in the Premier League. So I think it's going to be really interesting, and there's no bad thing if he goes and does well. I think some people will be hoping he doesn't do well. That doesn't benefit anyone. There's no bad feeling from... I think everyone will feel like me. I'm optimistic that there's no press conferences now where we're talking about Rashford. I mean, they still will. They'll be like, he's doing well at Villa, would you bring him back? Because that's the moronic approach of journalists. I think this is the end of Rashford at Manchester United, and I think it should be the end, because Manchester United, Nicky Butt left Manchester United at a similar age. Phil Neville left at a similar age. Like, you can leave Man United, and I think it was time for Rashford to do it, and I think it's time for everybody to move on. But there is a flip side to this. What if it doesn't go well? So Rashford's got to go in there and work really hard, and it's going to be very interesting to see how it pans out. But I think it's a good deal all round, and I'll certainly watch it with interest. And what about for Manchester United? Well, it's a release for Amorim. And can I just say at the end of the video, probably the best thing I'll say is that you've got to give Ruben Amorim a massive amount of credit, because you had Andy Mitten saying that Marcus Rashford's been an issue for a number of previous managers. Ruben Amorim's been there 2 months and he's removed that issue. I never would have predicted that. Rashford would... I've always spoken about a sacrificial lamb and how important it is. I never thought we'd actually do it, and he's done it in 2 months. And I wish Rashford all the best, and I hope he does well. But you've also got to look at it from a manager's point of view and said, we've been crying out for a manager to come in and tear up that dressing room and start removing elements of it and getting control of it. And he's gone in there and he's done it. And I applaud that. The manager must be the boss, and he must be allowed to do it. And we've heard horror stories of Mourinho wanting to sell Martial and the Glazers saying no. You can't have that. The manager must be allowed to rule, and he has been allowed to. And that's a good thing. Get your comments in below. Smash the like on the video. Make sure you subscribe. I'll speak to you later.